for this urban chat, and I'm with MKB Filtrexx. So they'll be talking about innovative high performance BMPs for sediment and erosion control. So I wanted to thank you guys for working with us to put this together. We have an audience of developers, contractors, engineers. So this should be some good products that people could use on their sites and their projects. Wanted to thank Lisa with MKB. I think she had sent you all food vouchers for Grubhub. So wanted to thank you guys for that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. And throughout the presentation, we'll let Nick know. You might see those too, Nick. So do you have an EPA update for you guys real quick? Ohio EPA, they work on the rainwater and land development manual. So that's your technical guidance document for all of your site BMPs for sediment and erosion control. So they're working on chapter 5. I think it's on like stabilization. So they're in the review process of that. So just keep an eye out. In the coming months, they'll have an updated version of that. So that'll be cool to see. All of our past urban chats, like this one, have been recorded and put on our YouTube page. So feel free to hop over to our YouTube channel to check our past urban chats, which is youtube.com/@Warren County SWCD. So, I could email that link to you guys after as well. And I believe there will be a PDH or CEU certificate for one unit. Either we'll be sending those out or MKB, but we'll touch base on that. But either way, you guys should be getting certificates after this as well. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, Nick Strizar. So Nick has been in the erosion control and stormwater industry for 20 years. He's an Ohio State grad, OHIO. Yes, national champions. So Nick began his career performing site inspections and writing SWIP plans. He played a key role on the team that developed the Filtrexx branded palletized silt socks. So that's a product that's today Nick manages the national netting sales for MKB company. He lives with his wife and his 4-year-old daughter on their property in Medina, Ohio. So that's actually my neck of the woods, right where I grew up. So appreciate that connection there, Nick. And without further ado, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I appreciate you taking some time today. Justin, I forgot I'd sent you that info. You started rattling that stuff off. I'm like, man, this guy really did his homework on me. But yeah, as he said, I won't go into anything more. He gave a great intro. I've been doing this for about 20 years. And really, I guess going forward, what this is a part of we've got a 2 or 3 part actually educational series. So we've got a few of these types of presentations, and it's really just to update typically designers. We usually do these for civil engineering firms, really all throughout the country. Basically just bringing them up to date on anything that's new, really from the private sector, as far as products are concerned, temporary BMPs and things like that. So that's what MKB is. We are a manufacturer of just about everything you see here today. And some of this stuff is probably pretty familiar to you. I'm hoping to teach you something new or show you something brand new. But I think it's also good to either have a refresher or a little more in-depth technical knowledge on how a couple of these products how they're intended to function, how they're designed to work, what they're made of, and just cool little bits of info like that. So as Justin mentioned, I'm a local guy. I'm up north, closer to Cleveland, in Medina. But MKB is a Ohio-based company, and I'll show you kind of our map here. Actually, that's right here. I think their first location was in Columbus. Our main hub is in State College, PA, just south of State College, and then all these dots basically represent our manufacturing locations. So they've grown quite a bit. I was originally with Filtrexx for, gosh, 18 plus years. You may be familiar with that brand. We'll go into really some detail of the compost filter sock and share some history of that product, which I always like to do. Um, but we've pretty good coverage. We ship product into just about all 50 states. We've got a partner up in Canada and out in Hawaii, which is a exciting thing, fun place to go visit. So we're the largest producer of the tubular segment. We kind of classify a lot of your ENS products as either a tube, a fence, and then you get into, some of the other items that we'll go over today. So we make the compost socks, we make straw wattles, we do make several types of silt fencing, all your erosion control matting, and things of that sort. So that's just kind of a little quick snapshot of who we are. And then this is the agenda real quick. Really, I just kind of go product by product. I like to share the features and benefits and give you as much ammo as I can as designers to select the best product. Obviously, every site is different. I don't think there's really a one size fits all approach or one product that is universal. Nature 90, topic number 2. So this is things that are all biodegradable. Not so much in Ohio, at least I haven't seen yet, but there's many states that are really adopting and pushing the use of biodegradable materials if and when possible. Sometimes it is a flat out mandate if it's in a high quality watershed or anywhere near water. That's typically where we see things start and then it grows from there. So we'll show you the latest and greatest, maybe the pros and cons of what is available. I'll then shift gears into a little bit of post-construction. So this is, folks that might be dealing with industrial permits or, long-term stormwater quality issues. We do have a product that helps filter invisible pollutants. So things like your heavy metals, hydrocarbons, as well as nutrients and bacteria, believe it or not. So we'll give you a sneak peek at that. Finally, there's a couple of newer products, newer to us that have been out within the last maybe year. I like to just, again, put those on your radar, show you some of the features and benefits. Finally, something that I really like to talk about is our green LID. I'm not sure if there's any landscape architects in the group here today, but this is our GreenLox product. So this is basically a product that can be used along stream banks for stream bank restoration projects, steep slope stabilization, really anything in that what we call living shoreline category, anywhere where water meets land, to really put it simply. So really cool product. I slipped in some slides at the end there to kind of hopefully pique your interest because it seems nowadays everybody has issues with stream bank erosion and issues like that. So that's pretty much summarizes today. There should be plenty of time for questions. I know I have flexible time here, so I encourage questions. You could feel free to jump on the chat feature if something comes up. So one of my many roles at Filtrexx for a few years there, I actually did the erosion and stormwater training for new employees. So any of the new sales folks and stuff like that. So a couple of these slides I kind of went into my old archives for, and it's just and I probably don't have to do it with this group, but this is the high level. Why are we here? Why do we have SWPs and why do we even use these products? And I always, of course, pick on my hometown of Cleveland. That's Cleveland and the muddy Cuyahoga River there. That's the famous river that caught on fire back in the 60s and really, played probably a big role in the the development of the Clean Water Act. So it's just quick history there. But this is just, again, showing you the impacts, the environmental impacts of all this these man-made impacts through construction, land development, all these things that we do. And then, how do we minimize that? How do we help remediate that, control that as best we can, through really the use of these products and different practices throughout the construction cycle. So that's the Grand Haven River, by the way, that's emptying into Lake Michigan. That's just west of Grand Rapids. So again, just some higher level reminders of, again, why we're all doing what we do. And then this ties it into, okay, what are these products? How are they used? This is just a cool little depiction here of, really, they show here the filter sock for the most part, but these are the types of projects. Hopefully you see some crossover or similarities here. We're big in oil and gas, pipelines, transmission lines, so any of these big power line, long linear type projects, solar farms. Solar has really widespread throughout the country, just become huge in the last maybe 8 to 10 years. But obviously, any basic commercial project, residential home building is another really big one. So again, this is just showing you, just some common types of projects. So hopefully you see some similar things there. Resources. So everything we go over today, of course, I'll have my contact info. I can follow up with as much info as you need, but everything's online. You can hop on Filtrexx.com or mkbcompany.com. Filtrexx specifically has it's an online design manual that has spec sheets, your SWIP cut sheets, all your CAD drawings, design charts. Some of these products are different sizes and so forth. So rest assured, I mean, there's almost too much info. It literally is a library. So it's really a great learning resource, even if you're not going to spec the product on a particular project. If you're looking to just kind of polish up continued education and learning, it's just an awesome resource. So the first product, there she is. That's the famous compost filter sock. This is the Filtrexx brand. That's our proprietary green color. So if you've seen that, that's ours. Of course, there's lots of others now. A lot of other folks have jumped into this space over the years. So that's part of the first part of this, is just to kind of set the record straight of, what is this product? What is it filled with? How is it supposed to function? And things like that. So as you can see, lots of different applications, and I don't have everything pictured here. These are really just some of the more common ones. Check dams, inlet protection. Originally, this was invented to be something that performed better than silt fence. So just your classic perimeter control applications. And if you think about, what did we do 30 years ago or 40 years ago or more? ENS was basically silt fence, maybe straw bales, hay bales, earthen berms, or other practices like that to try to, contain sediment. And, a lot of those what I call old-fashioned products didn't really have a lot of testing, research. And there was no performance data. It was just what we always used. So over time, what you've seen with the private sector, with the invention of products like this, we went to places like Ohio State University, University of Georgia. What's the main one, Beltsville, the USDA NRCS, is that the right one I'm thinking of, where all the research is done? But anyway, we started doing all this third-party peer-reviewed stuff, and we were able to attach performance metrics to products like this. And what we've seen, even at the state levels, as a lot of the DOTs, the EPAs have upgraded their manuals, they've recognized this, and they said, you know what? we're putting our foot down. We want to see performance standards across the board. So if you want to use a silt fence, okay, but it's got to hit these performance numbers. So that's just kind of where things have gone. So the biggest takeaway with this product, it is a filter. We'll get into that a little bit more, but it is designed to let water pass through it. Most of what's pictured here is an 8-inch diameter. That's going to have roughly 8 to 10 gallons per minute per linear foot. Those are the typical flow rates that we see. That will increase as you get to bigger sizes. So this is really sized from a 5-inch on the small end up to a 32-inch. These can be quite large, devices for these temporary applications. Most of those bigger sizes, by the way, are seen in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, parts of Southeast Ohio, and where you have steeper, slope elevation changes and things like that. So, zero trenching. This is a zero trench product due to the weight. It does need to be staked in every 10 feet. That's really the critical part, is obviously the installation, making sure this has got good ground contact so you don't have any undermining or anything like that. So those are just some of the initial applications, benefits. Um, this is my quick history lesson. So this product has been around more than 20 years now. And the picture on the right, that's the first time or the first way you could get this product installed. It was custom filled right on site. So there was a network of about 150 different certified installers of this product nationwide. And they typically were these large landscape firms that had mulch trucks, these mulch blower trucks. If you've ever seen that, they blow mulch in shopping centers and around playgrounds or big residential areas. So we figured out, hey, you could take the empty mesh, sleeve it over the end of the hose, like you see pictured there, and then he's got you could kind of see that's an expansion cone, and that's a 24-inch sock. So you can see these suckers can get pretty big, but they would literally fill this right on site. It was a really cool, really unique new product. It became a disruptive technology, a disruptive product to something that was completely new. And that was it. That was how it really all started. So another benefit just with the zero trenching, very low impact, if any. If you could see, they're going through pretty good, heavily wooded area there. They're not having to trench or impact the root zones or tear up the ground or do anything like that. And then, of course, what's being put inside is a natural, organic, recycled wood material. We'll look a little bit closer at that in a second. So this is still done, the custom installed in certain parts of the country, mostly out east here. That's still fairly common. But about 10 years after that started, the whole industry shifted to this pre-filled, we call them pallets. It's basically a pre-filled, foiled up section, stretch wrapped on a pallet, ready to go. I call that our Filtrexx Big Mac, because you could literally buy that product from Hawaii to Canada to Florida to Maine. You're going to get that same Filtrexx color, the same sizes, the lengths, but most importantly, we standardize what it's filled with, and that's really critical. We've got a quality control testing procedure of how that material is ground up and sized and screened and all that good stuff. So real quick history lesson. I would say 90% of the product that you see out there now, whether it's green, black, blue, striped, comes from this pre-filled palletized form. Those are sold through distribution, construction supply type companies and things like that. Looks like we might have one question. Filter sock instead of silt fence would be beneficial near a river's edge in the woods so you don't disturb the roots. Good. Was that a question or just
That was just more of a comment that I had
Um,
that, yeah, it'd be like, that'd be a great application for these, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's lots of others I didn't mention. Frozen ground. We're having a pretty brutal winter, so far. So things like that. On pavement, which I think is my next picture here. Yeah. Um, anything where you've got impervious surface, like you see pictured here. This is actually a 12-inch diameter. We're getting a little higher in weight. This is probably 12 to 15 pounds, give or take, per linear foot. So just a great product. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to trench a fence in or do anything else like that, but it's heavy enough to resist, movement. If you do need to reinforce this somehow, I've seen folks design in either, some sandbags every 10 feet or a cinder block, something of that sort, if that's even needed. That's not even always the case. Another quick question. Mulch available from Autumn Street Maintenance and municipalities includes trash and invasive plant seeds. Great question. So that is part of the processing or quality control. That question is from Aaron. He's basically talking about any trash, any plastic. I know sometimes can be an issue. We make sure all of our facilities that make that media, has that stuff removed or goes through a process where that basically is eliminated, and that is in our spec. I believe I can't remember. It's like less than 1%. I forget the exact language, but it does speak to certain contaminants and things like that. So great question. Uh, anything else? I'll pause real quick. I think I was done for this slide here, but I love this picture. I think I see a ton of these urban projects where it's a tight footprint. It could be an old demolition. They're tearing down an old building and things like that. And you gotta protect that. And a lot of the times it's not only the sediment, obviously it could be other potential contaminants on site. Invasive seeds, that's another question. Yes, that's part of the composting process where it gets heated to a certain temperature that basically kills all not only seeds but pathogens and things like that. So great questions, keeping me on my toes here today. Um, let's go forward. I'll pause here just in a couple minutes to take more questions here, but I want to keep kind of moving here. Real simple recipe. So it's again fairly simple product. There is, as you're kind of seeing here, more science really behind it and involved than maybe you thought. But really, you've got the exterior netting or encasement. We call it mesh. We call it netting. There's different terms. This is polypropylene, in some cases polyethylene. So this is, a poly plastic based. As you can see here in this picture, it starts as a single thread of polypropylene. This is photodegradable, so this will break down in sunlight over time. Our particular green here that we're looking at has about a 3 to 4 year functional UV life or UV longevity. Some of the materials we have break down quicker, but I would say even other manufacturers, again, 90+% of what you see on projects today is poly based. A little sneak peek, we do have biodegradable options, and we'll talk about that here coming up in a little bit. By the way, real quick, we manufacture all this netting in-house. This is 100% USA made at our factory in Pennsylvania. It's something we're really proud of. It's like walking back in time. There are these circular knitting machines with all these spools of this thread being fed in. So that's something again that we manufacture in-house. So we're able to again control. Another critical part of the mesh is the aperture, the opening size, making sure that it's just large enough to be able to let your TSS and sediment and other things like that into the filter. which is what we want to talk about here. Let me stop real quick. We had a couple questions. How resistant to animal intrusion like claws? There's been an occasional concern or instance where I want to say it was cows or something like that were biting at the mesh or fabric. Pretty rare. It will hold up. It's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong material. The tensile strength is, I think it's like over 250 psi, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, this typically holds up well to things like that. That's a really good question, though. But yeah, that's typically not an issue. So we looked at mesh. What's inside? This is where the science really meets the road, so to speak. Couple different products here. We want to look at the two pictures on the left that are labeled construction. This is really a good representation of the type of composted filter media that we use. It's actually larger particle size, and I'll show you a graph here coming up, but does resemble more of a mulch wood chip. The reason for that is when it's filled in that sock, it creates just enough void space to allow that 8 to 10 gallons per minute, while still being able to capture TSS, reduce turbidity. Those are a couple of those performance metrics that I mentioned earlier, if you were wondering. And again, all that stuff is in our specs, and you could look at the research and design numbers on basically by size or by diameter, what they can handle. So it's a little different. A lot of people think they hear compost sock and they think of what's pictured on the right under green infrastructure. That's a fully cooked, fully degraded, composted material that you would mix into your garden or plant flowers in. That's not the type of material that we use for these temporary sediment applications where we want flow rates and filtering and things of that sort. So um, sometimes it's confusing and people sometimes kind of get that incorrect at what these should be filled with. This is the chart. This is really one of the first charts that was used. A lot of the original specs, whether it was Army Corps, EPA, really for these socks adopted the existing Filtrexx research and testing because no one had ever done it before. So this was just kind of our internal performance flow chart on how that media was sized. You could see the particle size at the base. Usually it's 3/8 to a 2 inch is that bullseye. That's the sizing spec. A certain percentage has to be screened out. Um, Again, and has to be really above that or below that 3/8 number. So that's again the biggest takeaway is these aren't just filled with anything, and you need to be aware of that. I think whether you're doing an inspection, specifying this on the plans, a manufacturer that supplies a product like this, they should be able to show you test results. They should be able to show you some type of certification or assurance standard of that filter media. Very important. Quick, simple animation there. Dirty water coming through, clean water out. Notice the amount of sediment that does get trapped inside. This is not just a physical damming device. This is a filter, just like any other filter. And they can and will fill up. From a maintenance perspective or inspection, process, when they do start to fill up, then that's when you start to see sediment pile up on the back side of it. And when it's about 2/3 of the height, that's your visual indicator, much like you would with a silt fence or some other similar product. So it's a pretty simple as far as maintenance, is concerned. You can cut that section out, pull it out completely. It is acceptable to lay another section on top or slightly behind. There's different ways. You've got a little more flexibility with this product when it comes to ongoing maintenance. on a job site. So three-dimensional filtering with a tube product like that versus one-dimensional fence, like a silt fence. I'll pick on silt fence right here real quick. Of course, silt fences aren't designed really to let high amounts of water pass through them, especially dirty, muddy water. They're designed to pond water up, let the particulates, settle out over time. So they do need to be trenched in. So the installation's a little bit more tricky. Where you want to be careful is where these are placed. If you're at the base of a steep slope or near a channelized, potential channelized flow or something like that, that fabric can easily stretch. It can sag, it can fall down. If and when that does happen, you lose everything. You can have these complete blowouts. So if this thing held back a good amount for the first couple of months, it's kind of like a ticking time bomb again if it's in a bad spot. So these are the things that when I was doing inspections would keep you up at night, or if you're the landowner, you would keep you up at night. This was a project up in near Akron years and years ago. I think somebody got into some hot water for this. I won't name names, but quick question. I'll stop. The sweet spot in the graph doesn't include clay and silt-sized particles. Do particles of this size generally pass through? So going back to that graph, that was a sizing chart for the filter media, not the particulates and things like that. I don't know if that answers that question, or if that's still the general question that you have. There is a certain micron, I want to say it's 0.08, that even a filter like this is not going to take out as far as the turbidity. It's trying to filter, like chocolate milk at that point. It's just when you get down to that fine of a particulate. But yeah, that graph was based on the sizing of the media. All right, I'm done bashing silt fence again. We make lots of this stuff, and it's got its place. It's just again being cognizant of where items like this get installed. Quick video. I'll show this real quick. This talks about life cycle costs, which is I think the last major benefit is the savings that you could see during your project life cycle. You've got maintenance, you got removal, you got disposal, and those are all things that add up. So we'll watch this real quick.
Deciding between straw wattle, silt fence, and Filtrexx silt socks is easy. Just pick the least expensive option. But there's more to the story than the purchase price. Wattle, silt fence, and Filtrexx silt socks all control sediment by slowing water flow. But silt socks does something that others do not. It filters runoff. Silt socks contains a natural filtration media with a fast hydraulic flow-through rate that decreases ponding while increasing sediment removal. To put it simply, Filtrexx outperforms the competition. Installing Filtrexx silt socks is easier, quicker, and doesn't require as much crew labor. And because of its weight, silt socks does not need to be trenched into the ground, which means it can be used where wattles and silt fence cannot. Frozen ground, for example, or across pavement. Eliminating the trenching step allows a crew to install silt socks over twice as fast as silt fence and wattles, and nearly 5 times as fast if the trenching is done by hand. An average silt socks installation requires a crew of 2 or 3 workers instead of 3 or 4 for wattles or silt fence. And with a big install, that labor adds up quick. Real-world data shows Filtrexx silt socks performing for at least a full year, and sometimes even for 2 or 3 years. Wattles and silt fence typically need to be replaced once or twice per season in order to remain effective. Since you'll be replacing it halfway through the year, we should probably double the purchase price for wattle and silt fence to be safe. Oh, and replacing means more labor too. And don't forget about removal costs. Silt socks is filled with natural, biodegradable compost. The mesh material can be cut open, pulled away from the compost material, and discarded, leaving the compost to be raked into the final grade. Or choose our biodegradable mesh and let it degrade in the field. Wattle and silt fence generate much more waste and are harder to remove. Don't forget that trench you'll have to fill in. Deciding between straw wattle, silt fence, and Filtrexx silt socks is easy. Just pick the option that's least expensive in the long run. And in terms of sediment control performance and lifetime affordability, we've got wattles and silt fence beat, hands down. Filtrexx silt socks control costs while you control runoff.
Okay. Any final comments, questions on the filter sock before we jump ahead here? Okay. So again, just a quick refresher. I mentioned really all the netting being used for that product is polypropylene based. We're going to segue now into our Nature 90, what I call our toolbox. So there's just a few products that we'll look at here, but these are all, well, at minimum 90% biodegradable, natural fibers and things like that. As I said, we're seeing a lot of state agencies as they update their manuals, they're starting to implement the use of this. They're trying to get away from plastics, just like we're seeing in a lot of different, industries. I think, the other benefit of this, this product already is a benefit on the removal side because you could just slice the netting, spread that material out on site if possible. I know at some sites, maybe you can't do that, but it at least gives you that option. Now, if you incorporate the biodegradable fabric, you could be in, again, if you have the right situation, you could leave these and just let them naturally biodegrade, let nature take over, which would eliminate the removal costs, which could be a big deal on some of these specific projects. First product is our Natural Plus netting. So this is a tubular netting. We basically just swap polypropylene thread for, this is a wood fiber thread material. So this is, again, this could be for a compost sock. This could also be for straw wattles. Straw wattles typically have what's called an extruded wiry plastic net that can be swapped out for a biodegradable option like this. So the biggest trade-off with these materials, they've come a long way, but the functional longevity is not what the polypropylene is, obviously. So polypropylene, again, you're up into that 4-year. Typically, that's the max that I've seen. Biodegradable, you're at about 12 months, sometimes less. It is site specific. Really, the moisture is the enemy, as well as your microorganisms, bugs and things like that. And the soil or in the ground, that's what's going to start to kind of degrade and eat this material up. So keep that in mind. It's just a shorter lifespan. All your applications are fair game, as you see here. Slope interruption, perimeter control, any of that. Just be, again, cognizant of the timing of the project. Here's another key thing to remember. As long as these devices are left in place, they're going to perform. Even if that netting starts to break down a little bit, it will still contain that media and you'll get that functional longevity. If you're going to go reposition these, try to drag a 50-foot section out of the way, put it to a new part of the site for some reason, that fabric's going to tear and it's going to be useless. So just, again, and that's something else to keep in mind. As long as they are installed and left alone, you're good to go. But if they're going to be, if you're in an area where they're going to be moved often, you're going to have issues. They are made to order because of that short life, that short shelf life. So these aren't not typically stocked in these construction supply houses. They can be produced very fast and delivered very fast. But again, these are typically made to order. So again, I think that's something else to recognize. The netting up front really is identical to polypropylene. Same knitting machines are stitching this. Again, we're just swapping fabrics or threads. Same mesh opening size. They do tend to be buff colored or off white. That's really the only way you can tell these apart. Local home builder in this was up in Strongsville, Ohio. That's actually straw fill. That's a straw wattle encased with a biodegradable fabric. They were transitioning from your traditional silt fence there. That fabric, this is approved by EPA, ASHTO, and state by state, the map continues to fill in. Again, it's a rolling development, as you may be familiar with. Each state, they don't update their manuals extremely often. Sometimes it could be years when they release updates, but we've got a lot of state approvals already. A quick mention, there is a 100% cotton option as well. That's even, it's going to break down even faster than this. So we are really starting to transition more into this wood fiber natural plus material. That's again the latest and greatest. It lasts longer. It's stronger. It withstands, the installation process and things like that. It's a better material. But cotton is still an option. Second product, this is again Nature 90. These are your typical rolled erosion blankets, erosion matting. We manufacture a brand called Erosion Tech. We've got about 4 different facilities nationwide that produce these, and there's a whole long list. I won't get into all of them, but starting with your typical straw mats, you get into some combinations of straw, coconut, Excelsior. We do make Excelsior fiber. That's a new venture for us. And I'll show you a close-up picture of that. That's kind of a more durable, higher end type, type of erosion matting. But again, we're trying to get away from plastics, and these, even though these materials, straw, Excelsior, these natural materials, they are sandwiched between these flat plastic nets. If you've been on sites, I'm sure you've maybe seen this floating around or blowing around or just kind of laying on the ground. There's a tremendous amount of plastic that goes into these. So if you've installed an acre worth of double net straw, that's the amount of water bottles, plastic water bottles that goes into that. It's a ton of plastic. And again, our company, we make it, we're guilty of that just because it's so commonly spec'd and requested. Nothing wrong with that. It's just, we're trying to shift away from that in certain situations if we can, with use of biodegradable. Here's that same double net straw. It's stitched with cotton, jute, and wood fiber materials. So again, same great question here, or comment twice. I found water snakes trapped in this netting. I usually bring that up. Good comment, Aaron. In fact, I believe it's either Caltrans or out in California. I think they've flat out outlawed extruded nets and different other types of plastic netting just for that animal entrapment issue. So that's again another benefit of biodegradable. Similar longevity with these materials. You're at about 12 months, sometimes even less. We do even have some rapid degrade blankets that are available. So cost wise, any of this biodegradable stuff, that is maybe one of the cons at the current moment. It is a little bit more expensive. I would say 30 to 50% ballpark, just this ballpark there. It's rough. I have already started to see that shift down. It's just like anything, as more of this stuff gets produced and moves to job sites, the prices are coming down fairly quick. Double net Excelsior, Again, Excelsior is kind of like that, just a curly Q thin wood shaving. It's used in the packing industry. Lots of good performance with this type of product. Little slightly longer longevity. You would use this, maybe with steeper slope situations, or if you had potential channelized flows with some higher CFS, or near water situations like that. We do have a chart, by the way, that it's like a cheat sheet. Kind of helps you, depending on your slope percentage and different things like that, which blanket type is recommended. I can send that out if anyone's interested. This just a common install around your sediment or detention pond. There is an installation or trenching detail, so the ends of these products the blankets need to be kind of curled and turned into trench and buried, and then they get stapled. There's a stapling pattern. We do have biodegradable staples now. It's something, again, the industry continues to try to stay up and offer new solutions, so keep that in mind. So we've looked at sediment control, biodegradable, revegetation using your blankets and other stabilization applications. This is the last one for your inlets. I remember doing inspections, was always one of the biggest headaches because it's usually front and center when you drive in. One of the first things you see is the inlets, or if you see flooding or any other, nasty stuff. So this was a great housekeeping product. This is our Blackhawk filter mat. It's a coconut fiber, pretty thick. It's about 2 inches or so thick, super high flow rate. It's 1,000+ gallons a minute. Really does a great job, not only in just keeping sediment, but as you can see, other debris. As you know, most job sites are just crud all over the place. So these are very high flow. They can be reused if you give these a good power washing or take care of these. I have seen companies take them to the next phase of a project or just reuse them on a completely different project overall. About 5 different sizes, depending on how big your inlets are. We do have a curb cut design or a curb cut option. I know that type of an street inlet's pretty common in Ohio. They do have overflow plugs. Those are those orange circles in the middle there. So those can be taken out or removed if you have that torrential rain event. If these are backing up at all, that gives you a little bit more flow as opposed to just peeling the whole thing off. There's magnets. I don't think I mentioned that on the underside. So that forms a strong connection. So there's no need to zip tie these but the biggest thing is you don't have to remove the grate. I know that's for me was always a pain and kind of dangerous because those things are extremely heavy. I think that's it. Price wise on these, I want to say these are about $150, give or take. So not too bad compared to some other options. If you do want something below the grade, I know sometimes it's personal preference. Some people do not want anything above grade. That's maybe one con with this type of product. Would a snowplow catch that? Sure, I could see that happening. It may, kick it up onto the side of the road. But these can be run over. They're very, very durable. But yeah, snowplow, I could see maybe clipping something like that. So if you want something below the grate, we do have, this is our Fry Flow inlet filter bag. This was another Ohio company. They were based in Newark. We acquired these guys last year. So many different sizes. This is a metal frame with a geotextile bag stitched around it. And as you can see, these nest right down into your inlet. We can even do custom sizes if you have a kind of an oddball size, but you put your grate back on and there's other products similar to this, but we do have this basket under the grate inlet option as well. These are not biodegradable, by the way. These are old school geotextile fabric. Moving ahead real quick, because I want to make sure I get everything. This is EnviroSox. So this is that post-construction filter. I mentioned similar filtration media. We are adding different additives. That's what you see pictured there. That's the secret sauce. And this is intended to target roughly 20 plus pollutants. And I won't go through all of them. These are your heavy metals, hydrocarbons, things like that. You could see really some of the more common ones. This product's available in two blends: your industrial blend, which targets metals and hydrocarbons, or your advanced blend. This would help reduce things like nitrogen, phosphorus, E. coli, different forms of bacteria as well. So really a great post-construction, long-term. We have customers that have really, this is almost a permanent type of stormwater maintenance, or something that they implement on their sites. So great for impervious surface, inlet protection. You can place these in direct flow. So if you've got a small swale or an outfall or something like that, but just keep in mind these are intended for passive filtration, basic rain event situations. Real quick, we've seen the fire, the LA fires, but predating that, California and their fire cleanup efforts, they've been using these products for years. The Lahaina fire out in Maui, that was one of the first products that they used along Front Street to try to contain the burn zone and just the contaminated ash and just all the toxic stuff that's involved with that. So just kind of showing you another common use. We typically recommend quarterly replacement. So again, these filters are, again, a little shorter life than in most sediment control situations. Dependent on two variables, though, really. Number one is total rainfall, and number two is how high your pollutant concentrations are at the start. So you can imagine that's going to vary greatly from site to site. But on average, we usually tell folks to plan on quarterly replacement, just from a planning perspective. Treatment train, you've probably heard that approach or that method. This product fits perfectly in there because it's flexible. You can use it in so many different areas. You're able to set up multiple filtration points on a site, especially if you can identify hot spots where your contaminants or your percentages are a little bit higher. It's a great product for them. Final two here. This is our storm catcher. This is a weighted sediment filter tube. These come in shorter sections. They've got handles stitched, which is convenient. They're a little bit heavier, more durable. So if it's a high traffic area, if it's a construction entrance or right of way, someplace where it'd be nice to have a BMP to move often for whatever reason. These are filled, it's a 50-50 blend of pea gravel and rice hulls. That's the rice hull material pictured. And again, this is just a natural byproduct. And this does go through a process, again, to kill any invasive weed seeds and things of that sort. They use this in the nursery industry a lot. If you've ever bought a shrub or plant, sometimes there's a thin layer of this rice hull material. Tremendous water absorption and filtration. As you can see, this is some of the third-party testing. Roughly 5.5 gallons a minute. Not as high as compost socks. If you remember, they were in that 8 to 10 and up. But this is pretty good, again, considering something that's very durable. Usually these aren't as high filtering or high performing as some other products are. And then the final product, straight 100% rice hull filter sock. So, and you can order this with the biodegradable netting, making it a 100% biodegradable product. The benefit of these, they are lighter than a compost filter sock, heavier than a straw wattle. There's really never been an in-between. Of course, straw wattles are extremely light. They break down fast. You have to provide a shallow trench. And straw wattles, again, a product not really designed to let a lot of water pass through it, where this rice hull material is. This has been out about a year. Just outstanding. Not only test data, but we're getting great feedback from the field. This is over 8 gallons a minute. So again, just putting these on your radar of something maybe new, upcoming, and something to kind of keep in mind or look for it. We got about 1 or 2 more minutes here. Vegetated wall slope. This is our green locks. This is something I really wanted to slip in here. 2 versions of this, the VSF, which is the vegetated slope facing here on the left. This is basically for slopes up to about 60 degrees. Think of slopes that are, they have global stability. These aren't, these are typically non-engineered slope stabilization situations. It's maybe the topsoil has been stripped. This could be along a stream bank or a pond bank or something like that. That's our VSF. Second option is your MSE, mechanically stabilized earth. This is your good old school traditional retaining walls. We can go up to 90 degrees with these. The construction behind the fascia of the wall is done like any other traditional block wall. What the green lock system does is these pictures shows, it gives you a vegetated green living fascia instead of gray concrete riprap block that those hardened structures that we so often see. Here's the components. We have a grow sock. We call it a grow sock unit. It's basically a 3-foot short section of sock. These are filled with that fine growing media. This is more your fully cooked, nutrient rich compost growing material. And we can mix in and blend seed mixes. So what that does, these basically become chia pets after they're installed and they begin to grow. The grass grows through the netting. And more importantly, the roots grow through the opposite end into the bank. That's ultimately the end goal that we're after. But those socks do get wrapped with a geogrid, and then that grid you can see there gets anchored with an earth anchor. We're going about 3 foot deep. We can go deeper if the soil conditions require that. But you can see just by the cutout how these are built. We typically go 2 to 3 layers of sock. We then wrap that with grid. That grid gets anchored in nice and tight. And then you rinse and repeat all the way up. In addition to seed mixes, you can do willow cuttings, other live stakes, plant plugs. The vegetation selection is virtually endless on how creative and what you want to plant in these things. And then finally, the MSC, we do not use anchors. The anchors are removed from this design, but you do have the geogrid section that wraps the fascia. It gets then basically embedded, compacted. And again, these are typically built in layers or lifts, but you have the grow sock as a fascia. It's again, a flexible green living fascia. Flexible, as you can see here, not a lot of excavation. The system conforms to the existing bank. And there's the after. This is the MSC version. You can see this is along a roadway in Pennsylvania. You can see the guardrail. And that's the end product. So sorry if I went too fast there, but I really wanted to get that in. That's it. Like I said, I'm available for questions. For PDH credits, we actually have a scan code. You can scan that. If you have any issues, let us know. We can follow up with an email and get those to you as well. But appreciate your time. I wanted to wrap that up and thank you. We do have one question. It's okay if we go over. Okay, okay, good. Yeah, any final questions to finish it out? Maybe not. You had a lot of good ones early. That was good. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, I appreciate the time. Hopefully you learned something new or saw a new product that you could use. So again, thanks,
Yep.
Justin. I appreciate you getting everybody together. This was great.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for your time. I think it's very informative. A lot of nice innovative products, some new products I wasn't familiar with. I really like the end there, that the stream bank. It's like a vertical stream bank almost. They're able to get that stabilized with that method there. And we get a lot of erosion complaint calls in the county, like vertical stream bank erosion. And it's like, how do you get grass to grow on a vertical stream bank? But you guys are able to do it.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's pretty cool. Aaron Rourke had a lot of comments. He's with Scenic Rivers program, so we'll put you guys in touch. I think he wants to maybe work with you and learn more about your products for some of their projects going on. So that's pretty cool.
Sure. Absolutely.
So we'll follow up certificates after this. Wanted to thank you guys again and Lisa for getting the food vouchers. Any other comments? This is your questions. This is your last chance. Not seeing anything. So, but yeah, again, feel free to reach out to Nick, and here's his information there. So so I got a comment from Aaron, says thanks.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we could probably end it here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
I
Bye
know.
now.